You open your eyes to a world made of dust, bronze, and superstition. When everyone else looks at a thunderstorm, they see angry gods demanding sacrifice. You see friction. You see the movement of heat and pressure. You do not have the vocabulary for it yet, but the mechanics of the universe sing to you in a frequency nobody else can hear. You are 12 years old, dragging a stick through the sand in a crowded Mediterranean port city. You draw triangles. You notice how the shadow of a sundial changes length depending on the time of year. You sit in the dirt and do some very basic mental arithmetic. You realize the Earth isn't a flat plate resting on the back of a titan. It is a sphere. By measuring the angle of the sun at noon in 2 different cities, you calculate its exact circumference. You get it right within a 1% margin of error. You try to tell the merchants at the docks. You show them the math in the sand. They look at you, laugh, and ask if your geometry can make the wind blow their ships faster. That is the exact moment you learn the most dangerous lesson of your life. Intelligence is not a bridge to other people. It is a wall. So you stop trying to explain. You start building. You understand the physical laws of leverage and buoyancy. You build a spiral water screw inside a hollow pipe that can pull river water uphill, saving hundreds of hours of back-breaking agricultural labor. The local magistrate claims it was a blessing from a river deity. You say nothing. You just take the coin they pay you with. You learn the system. You realize that in a world ruled by men with swords, the only way a mind like yours survives is by making yourself indispensable. By 25, you are the most sought-after intellect in the ancient world. Kings summon you to their courts. Emperors offer you massive estates. You are brought to the Grand Library of the capital, a massive stone complex smelling of damp papyrus and ambition. They give you a title, Chief Scholar, Master of Engines. You build a hollow brass sphere, attach 2 bent pipes, and heat water underneath it. It spins wildly, hissing steam. It is the world's first steam engine. You stare at it spinning on your table, realizing exactly what it means. This could pull heavy carts. This could mine deep ore. This could replace every single slave currently breaking their back to haul stones across the empire. You show it to the ruler. He claps his hands, calls it a delightful magical toy, and asks if you can make a smaller one to entertain his guests at the next banquet. You smile. You nod. You shrink the universe down to fit on a dining table. And then the silence sets in. You have everything a person in this era can possibly have. Status, wealth, absolute safety from the plague and famine outside the palace walls. You beat the brutal, short-lived mathematics of ancient survival. But the engine in your head won't stop running. It doesn't feel like a victory. It feels like a vacuum. There is a deep, specific agony in knowing the answers to questions nobody around you even knows how to ask. You sit in your lavish chambers at night, looking at chunks of magnetic lodestone. You see invisible forces pushing and pulling the iron dust. You know there is a secret language to the natural world. Electricity, magnetism, biology. You can see the heavy shadow of it, but you lack the materials to measure it. You don't have the glass to make a microscope lens. You don't have the metallurgy to contain high-pressure steam. You are trapped in a century that is entirely deaf to the music you are trying to play. To keep from going mad, you start building complex gear mechanisms out of raw bronze. 37 interlocking gears, plotting the exact movements of the moon, the sun, and the eclipses decades in advance. You put it in a small wooden box. It is a mechanical computer, 2,000 years before electricity. You build it just to prove to yourself that you are not crazy, just to hold something in your hands that makes mathematical sense. People look at you with deep reverence, but it is the reverence reserved for a wizard. They respect the magic, but they are terrified of the math. Every conversation is a translation exercise. Every interaction requires you to pretend you don't see the gears turning behind the sky. You learn to give people the simple, comforting answers because the complex ones make them angry. You realize you weren't building things to change the world. The world doesn't want to change. It wants to be comfortable. You were building things because the hunger in your mind demanded it. It was a compulsion, a defense mechanism against the overwhelming ignorance of the era you were born into. You solved the puzzle of gravity, of motion, of the stars. But the engine is still running, spinning endlessly in the void. You are an old man now. You know you are going to die soon. You look at your scrolls, thousands of them, containing physics and calculus that will not be rediscovered for nearly 2 millennia. You know with absolute certainty that after you die, a war will eventually come, a fire will start, and almost all of this will burn. Because time is a heavy, slow machine, and you tried to force the gears to turn too fast. The true curse of being the smartest person on Earth isn't the burden of knowledge. It is the absolute, suffocating realization that until the rest of humanity catches up, you are completely and utterly alone.